Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow, habit. Welcome to a glowing rectangle, or a rectangular thing that my voice is coming through. And soon, my head will be trapped inside of it. Oh look, there it is. Now I'm trapped inside of the little glowing rectangle in an even smaller though not as glowy, rectangle. And that's how I just started this fucking live stream. How about that? So, yes, there is a great deal of censorship going on YouTube and Google in general, as well as Twitter, for anyone who is a hashtag resist person. Or generally speaking, if you're the type of Christian who likes to be like, y'all stop being divided. People don't like that shit on the internet. I have gone into extreme detail on exposing exactly why that is the case. Okay, I'm looking at. I'm just receiving Joey's message. Speaking of Joey's messages, today's first joke is brought to you by Sir Joey, and I'm gonna go ahead and open the chat up a little bit so we can see him there. And let's see. Turn that one off for now. Make my head big. Okay. Wait, I'm over here now. Y'all should be over there. Because I'm the Lost Begotten. You're not the Lost Begotten. I wouldn't wish this shit on anyone. Anyways, so, Joey sent me a text message this morning. The Dow went down on Trump so fast they needed to rename the stock market Stormy Daniels. So it's now the S&D 500, the Stormy Daniels 500. Nice one, Joe. Right, I think we have I think that qualifies as a troll burn because Donald Trump is in fact a troll, and Joey just burned him. And I was just dying for the first excuse to introduce my new graphic, the troll burn graphic. So I'm just going to keep that down there. I like that. We're just going to keep that off to the side somewhere and pull it out when necessary. Can we pull it out again? You like that? Can we pull it out again? I mean, you want me to show you again? Wait. Would you like to see the graphic again? Troll burn! Can you tell I took a real long time making that? I thought it was inspired. Thank you, MS Paint, for your shapes. It's like a circle and an oval and a triangle and like some tetrahedrons. So anyways, oh yeah, live stream. Let me make my head tiny again. Alright, we need to keep the troll burn off to the side maybe or something. Or I can just go like that and flash it up like that. Troll burn! Yes, that's going to be fun in the future. Oh yes. Although, I think maybe the past few rants have kind of made it difficult for them to send actual trolls my way because I wind up talking them out of, self-respect and shit like that. Because they don't deserve any. How are the... How's the audio today? I must apologize for the lack of being able to hear my wife and I cut up and crack up during the little couples racing thing last night. I had, and if there was any other broadcasts that have shitty audio since I fixed the audio, before there was shitty audio, my computer, just keep on just keeps on managing to have these different programs that are like little tunnels for updates that just keep on fucking reinstalling themselves. And maybe I needed to uninstall that one again, but that one locked down my shit this time. I stopped the process and it didn't start back up. But I'm struggling to lock down my laptop again after I had to do a restore point. I had to fix a computer like a civilian. But I used a Windows restore point because just something was hokey. I didn't feel like fucking going through and doing one thing after another. What you're hearing is fish tanks. I have the fish room in that corner of the living room. This is my couch. And that's my TV. So, if you ever wonder what I'm staring at, fish tanks. And I have like my little culture inspection light that you see on the videos is currently lighting my head, which is why you can actually see my face today. I usually just don't have enough light in here. There's no overhead lights in this house. Well, in the living room. Anyways, nothing but lamps. So yes, someone. What the? Okay, sorry about that. Good God Almighty. That was my fucking 13-year-old daughter's cell phone being called because her vehicle's warranty may have expired. And it was registered as a local 225 number, so I'm pretty sure it was a telenetted number, which is, you know, just what it sounds when you use telephones over the internet. And recently, the Russian FSB, pretty much only, has found a way to make telenet numbers appear as local American area codes. So you can very often, and there are ways to trace this, and I have done so recently on several 225 and 504 area code numbers. You can trace that these numbers are created by a domain address through Russia. Okay, like it fucking comes up to an RU website. So that's special, isn't it? And that's something that's kind of changed up for, since Donald Trump, you know, started his coup, they've stopped, you know, like, caring as much, you know, and it's been less about the, local people assigned, because they've been assigned to, you know, rigging the election. Hadn't been assigned to rigging the election. And over the course of several years, things moved from local scams to online scams, and now they've moved to these telephone scams that can be traced to Russia. But over the course of those same several years, a lot of these Russian anchor babies moved to primary swing states. How you like that shit? And where do the Russian anchor babies land? In Miami, apparently, at Trump Tower. They go and they stay at fucking Trump Tower. They have their babies, and they leave. And then they can vote when they turn 18. From Russia. You want to talk about fucking immigration issues? That's a fucking immigration issue. But they don't want to talk about it because they think Russians are all white. And that is fucking hilarious. Anyways. So yeah, our new commenter has said something about why does this channel only have 3,000 subscribers? His words. I don't know about graphics of this channel, but for talking points, it's 1,000 times better than Alex Jones. But why only 3,000 subs yet? It's like 10 subs a week only. Why? Long story short, I started this YouTube channel after gaining a 3,600 count group following and a thing I made called Support Ukraine, USA, UK, and Australia. It was a project I took upon myself due to a lack of anyone else doing anything similar, which was simple, English-speaking Support Ukraine news kind of page, which basically developed into a counter-information warfare page aimed at debunking the lies that people like Alex Jones and the Next News Network and all these different fucking Real News Now, like all these they try so hard to sound legit fucking news networks on YouTube, okay, and they all have their little websites. They all have their websites, don't they? Nobody just none of these fucking people just make a YouTube channel. They're all into advanced cross-promoting, and these people that appear as independent people, they all have their own fucking websites, and they have like fucking microphones and boom stands and why do they all just have the same fucking clean backdrop? Like, does everybody's house look like that? Is that what everybody's house is supposed to fucking look like? Like, that's not how most people's houses look here in the South. That's not how most people's houses look in New York. Maybe in California. Maybe Hollywoodish. Maybe. But you know what I'm talking about. It's always just like a white wall with like one painting or like a shelf. Like they just fucking set it up. And these people are almost invariably staring in one direction for every new talking point they get. Okay, like, I'll tell you, that's my fucking TV. Okay, you can see what's on my TV when I turn on my webcam. Okay. But I'll even look at it and read right now. Rep. Joe Kennedy III, I am not running for president. That time Melania Trump was in an Aflac commercial. Morning Joe, 2618, MSNBC, breaking news today. Okay, that is my screen. Let me read the second line down there. Final ready. V12 started with a 570 jump pack. Found a shop. That's kind of fucking word salad, isn't it? I think I should dub that into some, like, techno music. Maybe not. Maybe. Anyway. So, I need to put on a fucking cup of coffee. Or, like, a pot of coffee. Or something. I have that much coffee. And that's last night's coffee. Because we didn't have any fucking coffee this morning. Out of grounds. that has not been tasty for a while. So, anyways, to answer your question, Rahman, just in case you haven't garnered it from other video, there is a divide and conquer strategy that has been ongoing for, a couple hundred years now, at least 100 years, traceably 150 years in this country, undertaken by what should be recognized by this government as a mysterious power in the East. Let me get this crap off my face. So, during the Cold War, we were under the impression that the Soviet Union was a Soviet Union, okay? And we were told that Soviet meant Slavic, right? As opposed to, Slavosky. I mean, there's a word for Slavic. So what the fuck is Soviet supposed to mean? Anyways. Oh look, there's something I fucking don't know. Write that on a list. Look, we can start a list now. Shit, I don't know. I have no fucking clue what that word means. I can usually break down a word, but the fact of the matter is, if you look for similar words, the only one you're going to find is Vietnam. Soviet, Viet Cong, Vietnam. So, it's probably a Manchurian root word, isn't it? Oh look, I guess we can take it off the list. I figured it out. So, pre-Song Dynasty, the Southeast Asian Peninsula was resettled by basically an expanding river settlement that we now call the Mekong River. Okay. And it'd be interesting to research, because I'm at the law of I'm at the limit of my studies here on present day, history and linguistics. But just as usual, when I say something is there and it's there, I got a feeling it's there. So it's probably there. That a connection between the word Viet and Viet in Mongolia. Okay. So, anyways, our lack of understanding as a country, America's lack of understanding, the West's lack of understanding as a whole, that this, unification of 10 tracts of land was the undying horde resurrected. Okay. And this is just a matter of a function of how they keep power. And it wanes and waxes like the moon. There may still be mythical creatures kept in these areas that were not exterminated during the Dragon Wars of about 2,400, 2,800 years ago. Now, what remains to be seen is if there's a direct connection between things like, you know, your stereotypical mythical creatures, and not just the stuff that they refer to on the internets like Nephilim, but demons, vampire-like beings, shapeshifters, werewolf-like beings, abominable snowmen, just another form of lichen, if you ask me. Curses, magic, the only difference between whether or not they're real, between whether or not they work, it's about manifestorial reality and the democratic construct of the universe. Okay? And that is basically the majority of perception has a resonant effect. So, if the majority of people don't believe in magic, magic is dead. But we need to recognize this possibility and see that in the past, most people believed in magic, didn't they? So guess what? Magic didn't only work, it was very powerful. And that, you know, those were good times for me anyway. It's funny, I live out lifetimes to answer accusations of people that aren't even around anymore. Like, you know, large part my fate is constructed around these things. But anyways, so there's been this ongoing online trend, right, for 20 years now. The more like deep and fascinating and scary the conspiracy, the more successful it is, the more, you know, views it gets, the more money it makes on here, and the more it grows to perhaps not pervasively, but perhaps invasively, perhaps both, affect successive documentaries and successive lectures and attempts at exposing this, you know, pseudo-truth that has been, you know, very carefully and thoughtfully planned out to seem real. Okay? But the thing is, most of these presentations, most of these arguments aren't given with basic sense. Like, okay, whether it's demons or Illuminati or fucking, you know, ancient demon-possessed interdimensional, whatever the fucks, okay? If they're based in America, America invented the internet. So why did they give people a means to spread the truth about them and find them out? Okay? Now, this as a principle seems basic enough. But this channel in particular sought out to expose this in real time. Okay? So, can I come on here and just speak sense to these people and get them to listen to me? and acknowledge the existence of another government? Could I get them to stop pretending Russia doesn't exist? The answer was no. I failed. Miserably. The reason why was because of algorithmic suppression. Okay? Now, I was just talking about this the other day, how we've been led to believe over the past several years, a decade or so, that to trend, a topic must be extreme, far left or far right politically. Okay? We never took into effect the fact that Russian trolls, Russian bots, Russian spamming in general, along with these mostly Russian set up, pay-per-click cheater fucking services. Pay-to-click, really. Have completely skewed our perception and our discourse as a country. And through that, they've skewed our present historical perspective. I mean, basically, Russia has essentially imposed schizophrenia on a national level. People are so out of touch with reality, they have been making very bad decisions. And I'm talking, the majority of people in this country. And especially on YouTube. YouTube was a very inundated place with conspiracies abounding, all accusing the United States government basically of being the center of all evil. Okay. Now, coincidentally, this was happening while Islamo-fascist propaganda was saying much the same thing. But what's weird, and I pointed this out early on, is that Islamo-fascist propaganda and Russian anti-American propaganda weren't just implemented around the same time. They used the same techniques, methods, talking points, timing, strategy. And they all have their little websites. And, of course, just in the past year, we've found several people posing to be Islamo-fascists that were in fact Russians. Several websites, Facebook pages, posing to be everything from Islamo-fascist to Black Lives Matter to white supremacist, white nationalist groups, all connected to Russia. Okay. This channel's sole I need more Oreo, but that's not going to make my speech any better. God. Just give me a fucking second. That tube is almost out. And I forgot what the fuck I was saying. What was I saying, Joey? Dang, I need another cigarette. Blah blah blah, Illuminati, YouTube. The sole purpose of this channel was basically to respond to this vast conspiracy, if you will, against the United States of America. Okay. Now, this conspiracy against the United States of America culminated with the rise and now rule of Donald Trump, which is why two of his very close associates have been charged with conspiracy against the United States. Or should I say, his very close associate and one of his very close associates. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, let's differentiate these people that all fucking work together to overthrow this country. Yeah. Let's go out of our way to excuse fucking traitors. So, because I connected Islamofascism and anti-Semitism and crazy anti-American conspiracies as having all come from the same place, which included people that were infiltrating Christianity, claiming to be Jewish scholars, who were in fact simply Russian agents. Okay. They infiltrated, India, much the same way. There was basically a known KGB cutout guru that like Jane Fonda and all these fucking famous people went to, and there's been just waves and echoes of this movement that have been going through this country for fucking decades. This proto-Buddhist Hindu nonsense that detracts from some very significant history and prehistory that I don't want to say is buried in both, but certainly buried in Buddhism, but still abounds, although conflagrated, in Hinduism. But we have this New Age mumbo-jumbo merging of the two that basically the KGB just used to take children in this country away from Christianity and cause them to rebel against their parents. It's really just that simple. And we, as the children, people my age, in their 30s, late 30s, early 40s, need to recognize that this happened. We need to be taught that this happened, so we can reflect on ourselves and on our lives and figure out who we are and lift ourselves out of this national psychosis. Now, people can take, I'm sure, anything I say out of context, just like they can take anything anybody else says out of context, and confuse me for someone who's bigoted in some way. But the fact of the matter is, comprehensively, the lessons taught on this channel are the only lessons that humanity can learn to actually fix this place that you're all horribly fucking up. And that's what this channel is all about, okay? From saving the oceans, to saving yourselves, to saving Europe, to saving, like, cultures that are being obliterated, and to resurrecting the lost history of ancient people, are being mocked by these conspiracy theories, okay? And these conspiracy theories about ancient aliens and Anunnaki and all this shit, they do more to detract from the truth and keep people from the truth than uncover it. And, at the end of this long spree of Kremlin-backed propaganda pushed by Alex Jones and Red Ice Radio and the lot, okay? Ooh. I sense a spiritual attack. Oh, not gonna lose my train of thought. Ooh, Joey's got his toolbox on the back of the truck. He is going back to Acura after a brief stint at General Motors. Well, Joey, maybe you can tell me what the hell I was just talking about before I got distracted. Damn it, that's the second time in one fucking broadcast. See, it's just not that easy to talk without people telling you what to say. But, ooh, God, right in the middle of a fucking sentence, too. Sorry about that, y'all. Wow. I'm like sensing this fucking white noise right now. Huh. Gonna have to push my way through it and loop back and just trust in God to get me back on task, eh? So. What this channel does is call for a revival. Okay? And that's what we need. We need a revival of understanding of what's happened to us as a country, why we've been set against each other and just at each other's throats for so many years. And I've tried to teach about how, and this is where I was going with the previous statement, I don't know where I stopped though. While Alex Jones and Red Ice Radio on the lot had finished this long spree of, just bullshit, making people wonder what the fuck in a lot of different ways, okay, and making them extremely paranoid about not just the United States government, but United States corporations, capitalistic organizations and councils. Basically the same the KGB would have when spreading communism. Meanwhile, they're invading Ukraine. Actually, no, they invaded Georgia, got away with that scot clean, nobody fucking noticed. Basically had a mildly violent retakeover of Kazakhstan, and then started to invade Ukraine. All the while, these conspiracy channels that have gone from, from 9/11 Truth to Area 51 and ancient fucking demons are controlling the Obamas and shit like that. Now they've all gone to like Michelle Obama's a man, and maybe Obama is a secret Muslim. All the while they've been spending the past several years advancing the same kind of agendas that Islamo-fascist propaganda has, which is basically overtly anti-American paranoia, and anti-Israeli paranoia as well, anti-Zionist paranoia, they say. Meanwhile, in Syria, the areas that Russia used to have influence over and used to sell a lot of weapons to before the fall of Saddam, those people made contact through Syria and through the YPG in Turkey, and just, straight up through the fucking Caucasus in Chechnya. And they didn't just start taking over shit, They went to monuments and sacred sites and basically architectural digs and destroyed them. That's the people that y'all are proud of. That's the people that That's who y'all are running defense for. They've destroyed. Fucking broadcast went dark for a second. They've destroyed all these people. Have been running defense for the people who destroyed whatever evidence there was of whatever really happened. So, also, as I was revealing the truth about the history of that area, about Christian Assyria, about the kingdom of heaven, you know, I mean, it didn't used to be called Israel. You know, they said the kingdom of heaven was at hand. And guess what? The kingdom of heaven was established. Had a good run. Now, without dredging up the memories and getting into the story, to summarize, the principle of divine rule in Europe was established from descendancy from David. Okay? And you can go all the way into the ancient Irish texts and find that they have established their descendancy from David. Through Greece. Like, these people kept ancient records. These were cultured, civilized people, not fucking barbarians that the Romans needed to subdue, okay? And the name of the empire was Magdalenia. And Mary was the heiress. She didn't live there, though. She lived in Persia, where she was also the heiress to another throne. Now, what you don't realize about the story of Christ and Mary and their love, or the fact that John and Mary, not you know, the man, the Son of God, the Son of Man, and Mary Magdalene, okay, is that the story actually centers around her. And after they were both killed is when I Am came. Now, the spiritual and biblical literal aspects of it aren't what's really important, though. But they're fascinating and should be studied immensely, very, very extensively. But the main effect on history and the main lesson that needs to be learned from the exposition of this hidden past is the chauvinist conspiracy that has thrown the world into war and deception of our basic past, our basic fundamental truths of who we are. Okay, that's been hidden from us by this never-ending war that has been going on for the past 1,300 years. Really, about, jeez. About the whole past 1,500, maybe 1,700 years. And see, when I start thinking about that, I start thinking about the timeline not actually starting 2,000 years ago. It looks like it's 2,400 years ago. And then that just throws a wrench in everything. Anyways. But see, that's, you know, I'm not the one who can go and fucking study all this stuff and try to reinterpret it with, you know, knowledge and context. What I can do is what I've done. I can bend all of reality to teach you this lesson right now, like I said I would do 3 years ago. And it happened. A vast chauvinist conspiracy has kept a very deserving woman from inheriting power. Now, much like the day when Mary was kept from power, Hillary was kept from power for what she could have done, her potential. Okay? If Hillary was president and allowed to actually speak for herself and with confidence, she would have, much like Bill Clinton, found the center. Okay? And through the center, America is united. And generally speaking, through the center and appealing to the center and you know, being centrist, America pleases its international allies. America doesn't piss off people and make enemies of them. You know, generally speaking, centrist policies make us very successful. Now, 2,000 years ago, there was a divide between East and West that came after the murder of the old father, which you know now as a bullshit story called the death of Julius Caesar. Okay? A lot of what has to be garnered from bullshit text and deciphered is that some of the men that are mentioned as having lived in these small time frames are actually the same people. Case in point, Claudius. If you look, Claudius was released from prison, I think before the Caesar thing even happened, to deal with Spartacus, and then fled to the northeast. But anyways, there's another bullshit story that probably find a reappropriated, logistically, you know, like locationally reappropriated version of the real story in something like the Maccabees. That'd be fascinating. But anyways, a lot of what I've done on here is try to use insight to promote research. And you know, I've said, you know, if you look here, I bet you'll find something over and over again. Just like with this, you know, like with history. Okay, I've also done with the whole Russia thing. Yeah, hold up. All these Confederate fucking people, this is all being promoted by Russia. All the Black Lives Matter shit, that's all being promoted by Russia. I was saying that shit before Donald Trump even won the primary. Okay? Russia was all up in our shit, and I was the only one telling anyone about it. Michael Steele ain't got shit on me, okay? Like, I mean, he's good at what he does, right? But from the get-go, all I needed to see was the mentality of Russian troops in Ukraine, and I knew this shit was coming. I knew how to relate the Kool-Aid that they were drinking to the shit that was being pissed all over the internet. And as far as ancient truths go, well, you know, I was raised mostly Baptist, okay, and never had an inkling that John the Baptist was the real Messiah. Never had an inkling that anybody thought that there was any school of thought that existed, that there was any such thing as a Christian of St. John, okay? But when I woke up, I remembered basically being what in modern context would be sort of a Gnostic mystic, okay? Not quite like an Essene, but I suppose maybe documentaries that I had seen on the people are making me relate the experience I had. Because the experience was genocide. The experience was like women and children being cast off of a fucking cliff by Roman soldiers. Roman-looking soldiers. In retrospect, I'd want to say that they were Khazarian soldiers. But, you know, you got a history that you're told about what Khazaria is. Just like you got a history that you're told about what Russia is, and what the Mongolian horde was, and who Attila the Hun was. And, you know, just like all these other conspiracy theories, they give away their complicit guilt with their silence on just certain facts here and there. Like all of this talk about the skulls, the elongate skulls, right? And those are you know, supposed to be the ancient alien Anunnakis, or related to them somehow, Nephilim. And those are the people that took over the United States government, and that's why we're all Freemasons and shit, right? But what they don't tell you is that those were the mercenaries of Attila the Hun. The first Russian horde, basically. They looked like that. The first time the East came to Europe and invaded, we dug up the battlefield and we found those skulls. And look on any just generic basic documentary, that's what those are documented as being. Those are Hun warrior skulls. And now I'm back to feeling sickish. Ugh. Need some real coffee in me. Anyways, who all still watching? Y'all got any questions? Any thoughts I didn't finish and keep me on track? I woke up feeling nauseous this morning. I just had another wave of nausea. So, pardon me. I'm a little off. But anyway, let's see here. So, after allowing these propagandists to make all this money for over a decade. I'm talking about YouTube. And being aware that their algorithm was geared towards trending divisive and crazy stuff like Sandy Hook conspiracies and 9/11 conspiracies. I mean, where would those things be without YouTube, you know? And then never correlating the cross-promotion, which they could simply do by looking at their fucking data, okay, between channels like RT and other, you know, obvious Russian fucking cutouts and these so-called independent voices. But as if to fulfill prophecy, all of those voices, they're very loud, aren't they? They're trending, they're viral, they're very well heard. Here you find the quiet, suppressed truth. Funny how that works, isn't it? Let me say this. 3 things. For one, I don't claim to be Jesus. Okay? Claim to be John the Baptist. There's a difference. For 2, I'm not crazy for thinking that I might be. Okay? Based on the evidence that I've seen and the experience that I've had. Okay? Like, I don't let it consume me. I think the side of me that doubts it is a lot more infantile and full of shit than the side that believes in it, because I've seen far too much evidence of it. And if you've seen just a couple of little lightning strike videos, you might want to go to like some of the longer videos that start out seemingly innocuous and wait until I actually get in the zone. And then you'll see me just go like this in a fucking lightning bolt, you know, like just out of nowhere, okay? I can't know that I did that and think that I should, you know, consider believing in myself crazy. That's intellectually irresponsible. That's dishonest. Okay? I've seen too much to think that it's not a distinct possibility that I'm not crazy. Third thing, and I really want to stress this. I wish I was crazy. I wish I had been wrong about all this shit. I wish I had been wrong about Russia trying to take over. Okay? I wish, you know, like my life would have been easier if Hillary Clinton was really evil. You know, like, I wish I did not see the truth of all things. But it's like a curse that I'm stricken with. And, you know, what the fuck do you expect me to do? Stay silent? How much have I been right about that, if listened to, would have saved how many lives? Our national integrity? Etc.? Yet I'm supposed to sit here and accept that YouTube finds me offensive, YouTube finds me unacceptable, and I'm supposed to stay silent, not be allowed to have algorithmic recommendations, not be allowed to even have my fucking videos shared, basically. And for what? What have I done? What crime have I committed? You got my family stuck in a fucking trailer that's falling apart because you steal fucking money from me, YouTube. You know, when any person is born, any person, they come into this world and they see what other people do for a living. They see what constitutes work. They see what deserves payment. Okay? Now I came on YouTube, and like the rest of my experiential existence, in order to determine my place in this YouTube world, I observed what people were doing. I observed like what was making money. I observed what kinds of personalities were being influential. And I calculated based on the amount of money that they're making, the amount of work that they put into it, and the amount of truth and accuracy, the amount of integrity that they have. And I thought that this was worth devoting my time to. I thought I could keep my wife from screaming at me from spending too much time on this shit. And because I was not backed up by an American corporation, I began to fear for my life and for the safety of my children. And I was no longer allowed to maintain my computer business because I didn't want anybody having an easy way to get to me, to kill me. Okay? Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but Russia fucking kills people. YouTube? Helping them every step of the way. And anybody at YouTube who watches this ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Because through the suppression of this channel, okay, because you mocked me and judged me, you will be judged. Because you allowed me to be persecuted by foreign agents, you will be persecuted by loyal patriots. Did I say persecuted? I meant prosecuted. And if you want to tie it into the chauvinist conspiracy promise, what's everything you're hearing about Google these days? How they don't treat women fairly. Oh yeah, and there's a deep, thorough investigation going on. And I guess we can only see how long it takes before certain people at Google decide to come clean to save their own asses. Because isn't that how it usually happens? The fact of the matter is, Google and YouTube could have been great assets to democracy and to the world, and instead they have assisted the rise of neo-fascism. And they must be held accountable for it, even if it is only them holding themselves accountable. Now, if somebody can find a better way to heal the entire world than the return of the guy who's kind of known for it, by all means, keep this channel suppressed. Decide for all of humanity that my freedom of speech doesn't matter. Decide for all of humanity that they should be damned if you're wrong. And lead them into oblivion. That's what you've done. You've led them into oblivion. Just because you thought the loud, trumpeting liars held more weight than the voice of truth. Now, I don't know who I am or what I am, any more than you know who you are and what you are. My existence may have begun a very long time ago, but it still began. And I do not remember the form that I had before. But I know that my wife and I have been here for a very long time. And that things that you consider ancient beings, I remember as children. So forgive me if I have noticed my level of wisdom. I don't mean to seem arrogant, but then arrogance is an action, as is humility. Humility is when you're willing to take a chance, to give up pleasures, to give up luxuries, to give up possessions for something that is right. Humility is trying to act out of love when faced with hate. Because humility, above all else, is recognizing that whatever you are, whoever you are, you need to make the most of it, because what you have was given to you by God. That's humility. What you're confusing in me is probably better referred to as zeal. Anyways. Ooh, look, cigarettes. And, oh man, as far as ancient history being able to unify people, you have to understand that the world didn't come from a bunch of barbarians who eventually learned to stop killing each other. The world came from a bunch of families. And it took quite a long time before they started killing each other. You know? Our natural state is a family. Our natural state is to coexist peacefully. But there was someone who didn't deserve to come here, who tagged along. And he started an opposing civilization in the north parts. And they've never been conquered. They never just went away. And now they're kind of making their final push for world domination. And by and large part, their success is due to the accusations promoted by Google algorithms in the minds of people around the world that America, the last bastion for freedom and actually helping other countries in the world stay free through military and logistical support, this is the evil place. These are the ones we all got to get rid of. This is the great Satan, blah, blah, blah. An American so-called corporation was allowing that to become the prolific perception that one garnered from the internet, just in general. Whether it be a search for something, just any old fucking search for something, or what you go on YouTube and see as a promoted video. And they've not only made millions of dollars, billions of dollars, off of subverting the United States government, but they've put millions and millions, if not possibly billions of dollars, directly into the hands of FSB agents, of propaganda networks, of people hell-bent on destroying this country. They had their algorithm geared towards letting those people trend. They're turning a blind eye constantly to these people posting news streams. When is there not 15 different fucking Fox news streams? Have you ever wondered where those channels come from? If you do some research and you find channels that you can prove to be of Russian origin, you'll find a lot of similarities. There's like these standard other videos that they post. I've posted a couple of videos about this in the past, where you'll have like a couple of gaming videos, a random news clip, and their live stream of Fox News or CNN or something like that. And then there's this Fox Stream company that's basically just allowed to do whatever the fuck it wants on here. There's all these different people that are allowed to do whatever the fuck they want on here. But when it comes to reporting on Russia, when it comes to trying to be just any old American patriot who doesn't have a fucking extremist agenda, YouTube doesn't just like ignore you. They suppress you. There are companies on here who, for some reason, are allowed to give fake, like illegitimate copyright claims. And those copyright claims always center around, tying things to Russia, or reports that are directly about Russia, or Trump and Russia. Especially when it comes to reporting on how Russia influences social media. For some reason, YouTube really doesn't like that. Now, I know that there's got to be good people at YouTube, because YouTube has come up with a lot of good ideas. And good ideas usually come from good people and then get stolen by shitty people. And I just hope the good people, I'll be blunt about it. I hope they fucking rat out the rest of you. That's my little dream. Anyways. So, I fucking broadcast as orange. And has been for a while. even though I have no other devices doing anything in this house. Just lagging as fuck. Somehow I don't think I would have this problem if I had just, didn't have the general topic of truth being exposed on this channel. Like, if I was just another innocuous channel, or if I was just another channel that talked about anti-American conspiracies, I'd be doing much better, wouldn't I? If I was sitting here saying, oh, man, we should have Bernie as president right now. Bernie Sanders should be president right now. I wonder if we'll get, like, much of views just for having that said. Like, fuck. The capabilities relative to, like, what they claim to be able to do when they're in trouble. It's just fucking pathetic. These companies have more than enough capability to know that I've been right. Okay? They've got more than enough capability to know that I'm not faking any of these videos that I do, like, magical crazy shit on. Yet somehow, whether you come here for truth, or whether you come here for the freak show, you come here for the personality, you come here for my good looks, the fact of the matter is, I researched ahead of time the level of success I should expect. Should expect for the quality, as I upgraded the quality of these videos. Okay? Because I knew from the beginning that as far as the content, as far as my analysis goes, I'm valuable. Okay? As far as the theories that I bring to bear, as far as tickling your brain's fancy and making you think, that's what people like to come on YouTube to do. They like to hear ideas that make them think. The people who had just vlogs that were successful, who just had their head in a fucking camera, the ones that were successful, they were successful because they had ideas that made you think. Now I come on here, I have ideas that make you think. I have fucking theories that solve ongoing problems that are currently trending, yet my solutions to these problems aren't allowed to trend. The only fucking trending videos I have are fucking videos that basically make me look stupid. I thought I could fucking get away with goofing around in one or two videos, and those wind up being the only ones that people see. The live stream was suddenly 20 minutes behind, and he had to skip forward 20 minutes to catch up. And you're seeing what I'm seeing on my screen, as usual. Okay. So, I guess I could get back to the, before I wrap up the videos, I should talk about the topics that I kept on thinking of and then trying to complete the subject I was on and then working my way around to them, but I never worked my way around to them. And they're mentioned right there in the title of this video. Okay. So, somehow you ended up in the past. Okay, John. Let's, before we get on to the next part of the video, take a little break and listen. Sorry.
these feelings can't seem to change. And I'm coming back before then with some wholehearted news. I got the cold-hearted blues. I'm feeling trouble down in me, or hurting nothing nobody could see. Fate intended something different for me. Now I'm asking nothing for free, 'cause I'm holding some new, 'cause you got nothing to lose. I'm coming to you, baby, with some wholehearted news. I got the cold-hearted blues. Cold-hearted blues. Cold-hearted blues. Darling, let me be. Oh, something happened. Mercy on me. Bye, baby, I ain't ready to see. I'm coming to you, baby, with some more I do. I got the cold-hearted blues. Oh, please have mercy on me, baby. I got nothing to lose. I got the cold-hearted blues. I got the cold-hearted blues.
Alright. Thanks for holding on there. Oh, hey, James. I had to take a trip to Mount Wanahakalugi. A little stuffy in it. Anyways. So, before I get into it, I will kind of bridge into the subject lines there. If I can maintain a train of thought for more than 5 fucking seconds. A little bit of pain. Like all up in my fucking head. Ha ha ha. More Orajel. Huh. Alright. So, when you're looking for a channel, okay, you know, like just people to follow, people who you think they have interesting perspective, that kind of thing. Sometimes, you know, a news channel. Sometimes it's a focus on a specific theory. You can tell, or maybe you can't, but there's a way to tell how many people are actually working with that channel based upon how much work actually gets done. Like, okay, video editing, for instance, takes time. Coming up with the content in the first place takes time. Actually filming, actually speaking, doing a live stream like I'm doing now takes time. But not as much time as the cross-promoting and the website design and the graphics. Okay. And when you find these channels, or we did find these channels, especially if you were looking for like anything from aliens to flat earth, okay, you would find these different channels kind of pretending to be just like a guy who branded himself somehow. For some reason they've got these musical graphic splash screens, and these people just happen to be really good at video editing or something like that. One would think that maybe these people would start out independently and just make a vlog, and then YouTube or some company would have contacted them and then helped them become successful, given them some sort of staff or access to, like, you know, the YouTube version of Kinko's or whatever. Like, here's my raw content, and they make it pretty for you. And they handle the cross-promotion and that kind of shit. Then, one person, a Y-O-U, you know, an individual, as advertised, could actually tube. Now, I got a lot of emails from people who wanted to help me, but their offers for assistance weren't on that level. Okay. And in addition to that, the more clear evidence is the way the channels actually do pop up. They don't pop up like that, do they? It's not just like, it doesn't start out as a guy who you've never heard of before with some really good ideas. And then next thing you know, like, I got this help from these people and check out my new videos and how do you like the new quality, blah, blah, blah. I've been painstakingly trying to do that shit myself here because it doesn't fucking happen. Sure as hell didn't happen to me. But if you look at the first videos, the origin videos, if you've been following any of these many channels I've complained about over the years, since their inception, every single one of them had their fancy graphic splash screen and their website and all kinds of shit from day one. That a coincidence? All these people just happen to write the same business plan? Well, on this channel, you have, unlike, Alex Jones, one of the more successful people on YouTube, you have predictions that actually come true. Okay? And more than that, every now and again, I'll promise you a sign. And I'm currently not aware of any times where I promised you guys a sign and a sign did not show up. Now, I don't hold your hand and lead you to the sign every time. I often wait until somebody notices. Often until I forget. But there's been plenty where it's like, here, this is pissing me off. I think I'm going to have to make something happen here. And something fucking happens, doesn't it? Well, last week, we're trying to buy, still this week, still trying to buy a house. And I was, should I say, turned down by a relative who I know is sitting on a whole lot of money, who my wife and I take care of on a regular basis, and he didn't have any more money to lend us for our down payment because he had invested it all in the stock market. Now that kind of pushed me over the edge subconsciously after having already been frustrated by Trump's recent bragging about Obama's accomplishments, Trump's recent bragging about trends in the economy that were going on since Obama worked really fucking hard to pull our economy back together from nothing. And now, stock market's crashing. But it didn't just crash, did it? It's not like, oh, I'm predicting a sign. I'm saying something big's about to gonna happen. I'm getting aggravated, saying, yeah, this is just getting too much for me. Y'all get ready. And I was bitching about the economy. And it's just been on everybody's mind just how disgusted they are with Trump and him fucking bragging about the economy as if it was fucking his doing in some way. When all they've done is pass a tax bill that's going to bankrupt America. Huh, fuck's sake. Not only did the stock market crash, though, but its first little plunge was 666 points. Now it's funny. There's something in relation to buying and selling and trading regarding the number 666 in the Bible. So it just tickles my fancy that it has a little bit of relevance. But let's just analyze this indirectly, shall we? He that deceived the world, Vladimir Putin, has sent the lawless one, Donald Trump, and a lot of things have been happening that seem like apocalyptic signs. And frankly, the end of American democracy should be viewed as something that would be prophesied of in at least the hundreds of years before it. This is a big thing. America was a big thing. America accomplished preserving freedom from the horde. This was the sanctuary. This was like Helm's Deep. Now, people right now shouldn't just be questioning what they've seen as facts for the past few years. Like I said, they should question most of the history that they've been taught. Okay? And in doing so, they might come to question, especially given the sources, some of the recent bullshit interpretation that has been linked to the Bible regarding especially the return of Christ, Revelation times, the end times, the apocalypse, all these fucking doomsday cult preachers talking about shit they do not understand because they happened to read the Bible one time and it made sense. Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, right now, whether I tell you or not, whether or not anybody else will bother telling you or not, a very significant reality is coming to an end. And one would think that if it weren't for the deletion of history, if it weren't for the retelling of history as lies, people might consider that the messenger of truth could be walking around somewhere, could be hiding somewhere, could be standing on a street corner fucking screaming at people, "What the fuck are you doing?" Okay? He could be somewhere right now. You know, he could be back. He could have returned. He could be among us. Counselor to the people. Those people know who they are. They just got a ringing in their ear. I'm kidding. It's been a while since I was that powerful. I think I just got a ringing in my ear because I had a couple of brain cells die. But anyways, you would think that at a time like this, when the entire world was deceived and free will at stake, think about that. Not only was the entire world bullshitted about something, but it was bullshitted in such a way that has affected democracy, that has affected the very fundamental construct of free will. The only bastion of it that we have as humans. It's democracy. It's deciding as a group what we are supposed to do. It's not mob rule. It's supposed to be about informed debate and reason and logical conclusions to questions. We don't have that anymore, do we? Why is that? See, it's the natural state of humanity to be a family, to want to get along. It's the natural state of all the children of Noah, because they were family, and they all wanted to get along. Just like all Americans. No matter where you came from, you came here because you wanted a better life. And we used to see that in each other. And for the most part, guess what? We got along. When you trace it back, look at the periods where we got along, look at the periods where we didn't. Oh good, my fucking antivirus just got turned off. Are you fucking kidding me? Got this bullshit popped up. Antivirus off, Windows Defender snoozed. Yet AVG says it's working still. What the hell kind of nonsense is this? So, our family just can't get along. Democracy seems broken. And it's all directly related to the people that have deceived us. Oh, what the hell? Cut it out. And those people that just don't want all the other families to get along happen to be where that stowaway went. Okay, this is an ancient, inescapable, biblical, prophetic reality that you find yourselves in today. And you think the man who would give his life to save you is nowhere to be found. You know, I enjoy a little peril from time to time. This world is chock full of it. How would you think that that person doesn't exist, so I cannot be him? Because if you look at it logically, if you look at it and say, well, according to the truth, not what we've been bullshitted about, not what we've been taught by people like John Hagee and all these morons, okay? If you look at the truth, you look at ancient society, you learn that kinghood itself was determined by tracking souls as they reincarnated through patterns in the stars, which aren't just the conduits of souls, but the ancient halls of their forebears. And now, today, reincarnation is relegated to New Age douchebaggery. Perhaps that's in order to keep you from looking, seeking out, and finding the person who's trying to tell you the truth. Because in the Bible it says that even when the world is deceived, the voice of truth will return. Now, I'm just saying logically, one would think, regardless of what you think the Bible says, if there was an ancient spiritual shepherd of mankind, of any sort, one would think they'd be here somewhere right now. And when I tell you, I don't want this job, what I mean is that I spent most of my life looking for him. And, well, if he's out there and he's not me, then YouTube must be suppressing his channel, too. Because I can't fucking find it. I can't find anybody who just makes sense anymore. Which is why I bother pointing out the fact that I makes more sense than other channels. Because to me it's just mind-numbing how many people are completely clueless, yet are paid very well for their false wisdom. Meanwhile, careful analysis of this channel could be used to predict world events just by coincidence. I mean, you can go back, if you had a computer analyze the shit, you'd have no trouble coming up with patterns. Very, very conclusive patterns. And that's something I gotta deal with while I sit here and wish that I could sit there and say, oh, by the way, this was all just a joke. Acting, tra-la-la. Yeah, I've thought about doing that. I've thought about pretending many, many times. It'd be much easier. But that would deny the world the possibility of its, like, happy ending. How will the world heal itself? By denying the past. And how will this country even survive if it doesn't come to grips with the hypocrisy that has inundated what used to be the backbone of this country, which is Christian faith. Now, the people that you see on TV and the people that you see in history books have a lot in common. Most of what they have in common is the fact that they don't relate to most of the people that actually exist. Those are people that stories are told about. Those stories last through time because they're promoted. Just like things are promoted nowadays, things are promoted back then. And on this channel, we've gone through many different periods in history and shown how this cycle never seems to end. One of those periods is the Civil War. One of those periods is World War II. And the Russian involvement in both of those periods, not just the wars themselves, but the geopolitical scope of Russian influence at the time, needs to be carefully analyzed. Now, we've got a rule of precedent in this country, which is that the Constitution, or a law that gets passed, generally speaking, needs to be tried and interpreted by the judicial, by the courts, in order to become effective law, okay? Enforceable law, triable law. Now, in the definition of treason in the Constitution, there is some ambiguity about whether or not we have to be at war with someone, a declared war with someone, in order for someone here to be guilty of treason. Let me go get my coffee. Now, the reason why the Supreme Court has this jurisprudence, and that is the known case law that decides whether or not someone is tried, basically whether or not someone over the past 100 years has been tried either by an indictment of treason or a violation of the Espionage Act. Okay. I mean, did you ever hear about a spy being convicted? Wonder why it wasn't treason? That's because according to a World War II era Supreme Court interpretation of the Constitution, did y'all hear all that? According to the Supreme Court, I spilled my coffee all over myself. So say we all. Stop spilling. Coffee. It's like coffee. So, where was I? Coffee. Thinking stick. So during World War II, was actually the last time Congress declared war on somebody. Okay. So since World War II, we've had people spying for China, people spying for Russia, that kind of shit. And they were convicted of treason, even though they were American citizens betraying our country, committing a very traitorous act. Well, they were charged in accordance with the Espionage Act, not treason, because of this Supreme Court interpretation from the World War II era. Which, thank you, Lawrence O'Donnell, for bringing me up to speed on things. It doesn't entirely refute my previous arguments, and you might want to still look at them kind of prophetically, because I think they're still going to be proven right. Because two things. Okay. Two points of order, if you will. First of all, in accordance with precedent, the actions of Donald Trump and his associates, and especially when you look at their relation to the Tea Partiers in Congress, which are basically also installed by Russian-backed propaganda previously, you have a case that is not similar to previously tried Espionage Act cases, but nor is it similar to World War II era treason convictions. Okay. What it's similar to is the Southern Revolt, the Confederacy, when you had multiple members of Congress declare basically that they were against this country. Okay. Now, these multiple members of Congress, these multiple members of now our government, have been working to subvert the United States of America. Now, it's not exactly like this, but it's not exactly like that either. It's kind of a mix between the two, because they were trying to subvert and destroy the United States of America on the behalf of a foreign power. Now, obviously, America needs a fucking reality check in general, and the Supreme Court desperately needs to weigh on this already as to what is and isn't a war. Because just to learn that we haven't had an actual declared war since World War II is fucking amazing. Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf again, Afghanistan, those weren't wars. The Cold War, it's called the Cold War, like the word war is in it. People died. Billions and billions were spent. Not a war. Espionage Act, right? Come here, you little fucker. Stay out of there. No, man. Alright. So, the cat likes to sneak over where the air filter is to pee. I saw her over there, so I had to, react. Sorry about that. Live from not New York. It's not Saturday, and it's not the nighttime. Anyways. So, blah, 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 Precident, blah, 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 stuff. And I just fucking yanked my webcam down. That was that noise. I wonder where it's pointed now. Let's see. It's pointed at the ceiling. Okay. So we haven't had like an actual declaration of war. So like, are you telling me that if someone were to say, you know, storm a fucking federal building with an Iraqi flag back when Saddam Hussein was still alive, and say, Saddam Hussein is king, fuck America, all this shit, that wouldn't be treason? Or if an American deployed in Iraq just turned jihadi and started killing Americans, how is that not treason? I mean, for thousands of years, these have been the definitions of treason. Okay. Now, in the Constitution, it says in levying war against and giving aid to their enemies. Okay. Now, Russia. We've had a century of Cold War with Russia that we recently found out did not end with the collapse of the Berlin Wall. Okay? And we can clearly determine this by deconstructing Vladimir Putin's rise to power. Where he was, what was he doing, how influential was he, how far back does this present plan go? If this plan that's working against us right now, working very effectively against us right now, was conceived of before the collapse of the Soviet Union, then the collapse of the Soviet Union is fucking trivial. And again, you have to take into effect, we're talking about a mafia-like family that maintains power without nationality. It doesn't matter who's in power in these areas, what countries they call themselves, they'll still be in power there. They'll still run the black market. And it's a matter of periodic expansion to where it's not like this country becomes one country and that country's border expands. No, it's that this horde rallies together and the overall borders of all their territories expands. Okay, like us clueless Americans and Westerners are looking at this in completely the wrong way on a basic level. And for all we know, those royal families, and that's what they basically are, they're royal families, perhaps they still believe in reincarnation, because they seem to have very old knowledge, and their wisdom seems to be capable of running circles around us. Because most of the people who watch this video in the future will have thought, while I was recording this, at least, that the Cold War was over, that Putin had nothing to do with the Cold War, that Islam has nothing to do with the Cold War, Islamofascism has nothing to do with the Cold War. Islam as a series of men struggling to understand the divine has nothing to do with Russia. Islam as a political system of conquest Well, that was basically manufactured in Russia. And that goes back to the merging of the Khanate and the Caliphate. Anyways. Getting way too random. What is this about? President? Oh yeah, President. So, let's see here. Oh, Bruce looks hungry. It is full daylight in my fish tank. I think I might do another live stream just from the fish tank. It looks pretty. I've been running out of, materials lately, and been trying to save money, so I'm trying not to buy new cartridges for my RDI system, and trying not to buy another bag of salt, trying to stave off on water changes and just use it for top-off water. But I had to mix up a couple gallons of salt and finally cleared off all the damn algae from my sand bed. Oh god, that was horrible. Anyways, so the aquarium's looking a little better. I might, whenever my next stream is, I might put it on the fish tank. But anyways, back to the Supreme Court and the Constitution and all that good stuff. So, as it stands, the FBI is going to arrest Donald Trump and several members of Congress. Okay. There's just no way around it. They're fucking guilty as shit. Okay. And already the charge is conspiracy against the United States. Already there is at least one charge against Donald Trump for espionage. Okay? I mean, you have fun with your obstruction of justice talk. I'm talking about the real shit that I know happened. Okay? And because I know it happened, guess who's gonna know it happened? Robert Mueller. Now, what Mueller has been mulling is treason. Now, bear in mind, treason carries a capital punishment. Okay? Donald Trump could very well be publicly executed as a high traitor. Because that's what he's guilty of. But you see, no court, other than the Supreme Court, can decide that it's treason. Because the Supreme Court issued the jurisprudence about a declared war. But, what a coincidence, it happens to be the Supreme Court where Donald Trump and members of Congress would stand trial. So actually, treason is fair game. Treason is accurate. Not only because there was no foreign country that we went to war with during the rebellion, okay, during the Civil War, okay. But the fact of the matter is, it is common knowledge, and has been common knowledge throughout all of Donald Trump's life, that the Soviet Union, Russia, and especially the mafia that maintains the darker side of the power in there is an enemy of the United States. Okay? And I would like anyone on Donald Trump's team, legal team, to try and make the argument otherwise. And I'm sure Mueller is fascinated to see the same thing play out. But it's going to be treason. If you advance the agenda of a foreign country on the American people just to get into power, irregardless of your own domestic political party's needs, you go and change that domestic political party to suit a foreign power. And then coordinate an attack on the American people in order to seal your grip on that power. You are guilty of treason. And you need to be made an example of, so that this can never happen again. So say we all. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching, people. Peace.
It's in my